Grand Portage Resources' Herbert Gold Project in southeast Alaska highlights increased gold resource, indicated and inferred, of 860,000 ounces, in excess of 10 grams per ton gold. Expansion drilling is planned on the Herbert Gold property for the summer of 2019. Grand Portage Resources trading symbols are GPG on the TSX Venture, GPTRF on the OTCQB, and GPB on Frankfurt. For more information, please visit our website, grandportage.com.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sheryl McCumsey, founder of Pesticide Free Alberta. Welcome back to the show, Sheryl.
Hello, Jim.
Sheryl, of course, now you're in British Columbia, but you've been fighting pesticides in Alberta for a long time. And the horrible wildfires in northern Alberta near the community of High Level. Could this be a self-inflicted wound because of Alberta's forestry practices?
Well, there's certainly a number of things that contribute to forest fires, but one that is kind of clear, actually, because glyphosate is used to dry down crops. It's used to desiccate, dry down cereal crops like wheat. And when we spray glyphosate in a forest, it dries down those plants the same way. It isn't going to just kill certain trees that, like aspen, which when they leaf out are certainly a fire retardant. And this has been illustrated in studies. But it will also create a lot of dead material, plant material, that's great tinder for a forest fire. And so this practice is irresponsible, and there's groups all across Canada, in BC and New Brunswick and Nova Scotia and Ontario, and probably other little places I don't know about yet, who are all opposed to this and have been for years. So why do we allow it? Good question.
So Alberta sprays a lot of that on its forests?
Pardon me?
Does Alberta spray a lot of that on its forests?
Well, the guy in northern BC that's assessed reports on the actual amounts sprayed, yes, Alberta apparently it looks like sprays more of this than BC does. So, yes, we do spray it. To say exactly where, I can't comment on that, but certainly when you get an eye for an area that's been sprayed with herbicide, you get to recognize what that looks like. And if you go to the Stop the Spray BC website, he has videos of areas before and after that have been sprayed with herbicide. And after a while, you get an eye for it and you kind of know what it looks like. And signs are often posted as well, or things in the newspaper about an area that's going to be sprayed. So people living in those areas can start to watch for that and pay attention to it. I think it's really important to pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm. Now, we're seeing the ads on TV because it's spring again, Roundup. What's Roundup made out of?
Well, the active ingredient is glyphosate, which is considered an organophosphate pesticide. And it is a broad-spectrum herbicide. That means it kills pretty much all plant materials, except, of course, we're seeing a lot of weed resistance in many areas since it's been used to spray on genetically engineered crops designed to tolerate being sprayed with it. That's the active ingredient in Roundup. There are other additives in formulations like Roundup. There's other formulations like Vision Max, etc. These are just different products. But Roundup is the one we're familiar with because we're allowed to buy it. There's other additives inside the product, for example, surfactants, which are added to reduce the surface tension on a plant so that herbicide will stick to the plant material. So it will, get into the tissues of the plant to kill the plant. Those things are not tested along with the active ingredients. So the formulations are not actually tested, just the active ingredients. And we're seeing a lot of evidence on glyphosate recently that links it to not just cancer, but liver and kidney disease as well, and gut diseases.
So nasty stuff. Do you wonder every day why it's allowed to be sold so openly? And I just noticed in the TV ads, you got two smiling guys wearing shorts, no gloves or anything. I mean, it looks like it's pretty friendly.
There was just a CBC segment done on a woman in Ontario who's looking at taking legal action. There's legal action being taken by a farmer in Saskatchewan, legal action in, several lawsuits have been initiated against the Pest Management Regulatory Agency and its registration of this herbicide. But this woman in Ontario, this CBC segment, is very interesting because it shows how this woman worked in the Niagara area spraying pesticides in her shorts kind of thing, because this is what people are kind of like, given the impression that it's safe enough that you don't have to worry. But when really you should be wearing coveralls, etc., to protect yourself. And for people that have even used protective measurements, they have, gotten non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and that's why these big lawsuits have been initiated in the U.S. So it's actually very concerning that these ads are going out implying that people are safe to use it this way. They're not. They're taking a significant risk because we can absorb pesticides through our skin. And when you have this in your food as well, we're getting this from different sources, and it's very concerning at all that we allow that kind of advertising.
It's so easy to become a victim of it. A friend of mine brought over some strawberries. We made strawberry smoothies, and I got sick and had skin problems. And the doctor said, "Oh, you're a victim of the dirty dozen. There's pesticides in a lot of foods and vegetables. Strawberries are number one." Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's everywhere, and they don't have to put a sign on the strawberries when you buy them in the store that these could have been sprayed with nasty chemicals.
Yeah, there's a lot of pesticides that can be on one food. You could have, one of the foods on that list is celery. And I've seen there's up to 48 different residues that could be sprayed on celery. 48? Well, we always worry about drug interactions when we're prescribed a drug. We know we're taking that drug. We know that certain drugs interact, but we don't think about it with pesticides. I find that rather remarkable. Even lawn chemical, which has 3 different herbicides, that's not tested. We do not test to look for the interaction of 3 herbicides sprayed on our lawns. Isn't that incredible? So we have this assumption that certain things are being looked at and considered, and they're not. So this is like, use this at your own risk and wait and see what happens 10, 20 years down the road. And if you develop something like Parkinson's, you're probably not going to make the connection that this is what's happened to you. But in France, if you develop Parkinson's, they believe the connection to pesticides is so clear that they will compensate you. Here in Canada, well, we're just beginning to see these lawsuits coming out, and we're starting to see some coverage in the media, but I still think we're a long ways away from it because, for example, in this article about the beekeepers in Creston, and we keep seeing this over and over again, but it just doesn't seem to be getting through, that beekeepers have lost 40 to 70% of their bees. These are honeybees, though. They're not wild bees. And these are not the insects that we're losing, or the birds that are being impacted by these pesticides as well. People are going, well, gee, there's just not as many bees, but are they making the connection that the food they're eating is responsible for why we're seeing these declines? And so if we consider what conventional agriculture is doing and how farmers are marketed to aggressively, who is responsible for this? And who's taking action to protect our health and the health of farmers and our ability to even grow food down the road if we wipe out all our pollinators? Very concerning.
We'll have more with Sheryl McCumsey right after the break.
Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Magnum Gold Corp, MGI on the TSX Venture Exchange. A 2015 drill program on the LH property intersected several high-grade gold intersections, including 11 meters of 20.66 grams per ton gold. Additional drill targets on the LH property have been identified by a 2018 drone airborne magnetic survey to further evaluate a pyrrhotite-enriched gold-bearing system. Please visit our website at magnumgoldcorp.com.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sheryl McCumsey. Cheryl, do you think most people would be shocked at the lack of government supervision and regulations in Canada?
Yeah, I'm shocked still. After years of looking at this, I still feel like I can't believe what I'm learning or what I'm hearing, or that people who are working in government also seem to fail to understand what's lacking, what's missing. So if they don't know, and they're the ones that are kind of enforcing things, or like, for example, in Edmonton, the pest control department for Edmonton, these people are so well indoctrinated by the industry that they don't consider anything other than that the PMRA registers a pesticide. So one of the new herbicides on the market is called aminopyrrolate, and it's been banned in a number of states because in places that this herbicide has been applied, animals that have eaten that grass, their manure kills everything for years and years. So the compost kills the plants. That was the reason it was banned. But the fact is Dow Chemical does the studies to see if this pesticide is so-called safe. It's highly toxic to fish. The city sprayed this in the middle of the night, posted guards at the entrances to the park, sprayed this to address what is considered an invasive weed. But my question is, why are we spraying such a persistent herbicide that is only really assessed by the industry that sells it, and not considering alternative routes to addressing that weed? Mowing that weed, having goats coming in that park to address those weeds. I know a woman who has a business, and that's exactly what she does. Or using steam. These methods are often more effective because herbicide does not impact the seeds. It will only impact the plant. So when the seeds spread, when the city allows that plant to spread all over the park because they've not addressed it early enough, then they spray this herbicide, damage the soil in such a way that invasive species can take a better hold of that environment. You're not going to have native species taking over now that you've sprayed that herbicide. So if you use something else that's far less harmful to the environment to address an invasive weed, you're going to have native species having more of a chance to integrate into that community, into that area, into that park. Instead, it's like a mindset that's super destructive, that pesticides are not considered poisons when they clearly are. These are our poisons, and they don't just kill what we want them to kill.
Now, about the bees, of course, we know that will affect, with the bees, we know that'll affect the food supply. You'd think people would be concerned about that, but they just think of them as small stinging insects, so the fewer of those around, the better. Is that kind of the mindset?
Well, I think it is a lot of the times. I mean, what happens is these beekeepers then have to, get queens. It's very expensive for them. Just to give you an example, okay, so I'm just going to kind of look at this story here to give you some numbers. But the cost to a beekeeper to replace the queen in their hives is very expensive. And they're not getting them from they're not native to this country. They're from the Mediterranean. They're from Africa. So you're impacting the genetic diversity of bees as well. So, I mean, we have thousands and thousands of species of bees. And most of the bees that pollinate plants on this planet are not honeybees. Like, you can have a little tiny bee that doesn't even have any yellow coloring on it. People would not even recognize as a bee. The whole ecosystem that we have going on our planet that we require to actually survive and live on this planet, we have become so disconnected that we think, bees are a problem if they sting us. When we don't realize that all the food we eat, most of it, or a good majority of it, if we don't have insect life, and bees are only one part of that, we won't have any food to eat. There won't be. So we'll see decline in crops. We are starting to see these impacts in different countries. China now is required to hand-pollinate crops. Well, what is the cost of hand-pollinating your crops? It's just remarkable that these pesticides, like neonics, for example, there are hundreds of studies showing they do not increase yield. There are actually, a lot of them are illegally on the market. They had not even had the required science submitted before they went on the market. That's in the federal audit of the PMRA. And so EcoJustice has taken the PMRA to court. And yet, if these things do not get reported in a way that people understand, they don't see the connections of how important this is and how within, maybe 2 to 5 years, all of a sudden our food costs are going to go up and we're wondering why. Or maybe you can't even get certain foods anymore because of all of these impacts that are happening to farmer, and pesticides are really, unfortunately, one big one, but not the only one. We are in big trouble. We can't ignore it. So, you can ignore it, but the consequences are unbelievable. So when you look at these beekeepers, now they have these added costs to bring in non-native species of bees, which are not going to be able to handle our weather very well, or even the diseases they could be impacted by. And then you throw pesticides at them, one that, like glyphosate, that damages the gut flora, and then neonics, which impact the nervous system. And you wonder why this is happening. Well, it's pretty clear why it's happening.
We'll have more with Sheryl McCumsey right after this.
I'm Douglas Mason, CEO of Naturally Splendid, symbol NSP on the TSX Venture Exchange. Naturally Splendid is a biotechnology and consumer products company focused on the global cannabis and health markets. Naturally Splendid is expanding distribution in this rapidly growing market with products currently in Canada, the USA, South Korea, Germany, and Australia. To view our comprehensive company presentation and for more information, please visit our website at naturallysplendid.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sheryl McCumsey. Sheryl, as usual, we feel pretty helpless when we hear all this. What can the average person do to combat the invasion of chemicals into our air, food, and water?
It really, I recognize that a lot of people feel helpless, and at times I feel helpless, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is what I can do. I can educate people. This is what I will do, and I'll do it till I can't do it anymore. The other being that what you buy impacts the market. We've seen this over and over again, that when people decide to consume something different, it impacts the market. So buy local organic food as much as possible. Grow your own food. Support, your market gardens, your whatever, and ask lots of questions. So if you're buying plants from a greenhouse, for example, you might get excited about a plant, but if you don't ask the greenhouse, are you sure that neonics have not been put in the soil on this plant in any way? Then they're not going to worry about it. And then you're going to actually take a plant, put it in your garden, a plant that's going to actually impact bees in your own yard. So the way these things change is by people communicating this information to one another and changing what they do, which means how we consume. I mean, you can see big retailers that are now refusing, for example, oats that have been desiccated with glyphosate, some big companies. Costco is looking at getting more organic. At the same time, there's concerns with organic and how it's being impacted as well. So the consumer has to keep pushing and saying, we want a clean product. We know that that's possible. All you have to do is actually start visiting some farms and seeing what they're doing. And some of the things that some farmers are doing out there are remarkable, and they need our support. They're under so much stress right now when it comes to the impacts of climate change, the impacts of all of the things that are going on like this. So to support a local beekeeper, for example, so that they can continue to provide honey and to pollinate the crops in the area. So I'm going to my own community, and this farmers market here in Powell River is remarkable. This is the only thing that we can really do. I mean, we can also support the lawsuits that are ongoing right now. So there's an organization called Safe Food Matters. Safe Food Matters, you can go to their website, and you can contribute to their GoFundMe account. They're going to sue Health Canada, the PMRA, for their re-registration of this herbicide. It's been re-registered for 20 years. And there is evidence that right now this is linked to a variety of serious illnesses we're seeing and significant incline in Canadian people. And we're seeing a lot of this herbicide being used in farming and other ways across Canada. And if we don't do something about it as people in this country, it's not going to change. So we do have power, and it takes work. You have to work together. Join a group in your local community. So in Powell River, a little group has been started here, and we want to look at issues with certain pesticides in this area. I know farmers in this area that want to address it as well. So I'm making those contacts here, and that's what everyone can do.
Cheryl, where can people get more information online about this?
Well, like I said, Safe Food Matters is a group, a nonprofit group that's concerned about basically safe food. And they're not just looking at glyphosate. So I would go to their website. We have several Facebook pages. Pesticide Free Edmonton is a page that probably gets the most information posted on it. There is the Canadian Association of Physicians for the Environment. There's Eco Justice. They are both trying to do good environmental action to support a better way for Canadians. There are local groups in your community that are often taking action. So Stop the Spray BC is the one here in BC that's concerned about herbicide spraying in forestry, and the guy that runs that group has a lot of really good information on his page. And we now have a little group called Pesticide Free Powell River that's been started by a woman in this community that's done work here to better this community in other ways, and we're going to work together to see what we can do here. There's also organic organizations all over Canada that you can go to get information about what organic means and stands for, and we need to keep pushing for better and better ways to make sure that the organic brand is as clean as possible.
Cheryl, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you, Jim.
My guest has been Cheryl McCumsey, founder of Pesticide Free Alberta, now a member of Pesticide Free Powell River. She was speaking to us from Powell River, BC. If you have any questions for Cheryl or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet, our popular YouTube channel, Talk Digital Network. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at talkdigitalnetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of Howe Street Media Incorporated.